Hello, 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 and welcome to the fifth episode of Mixed Media Reviews Season 5. My name is Kelsey, and today I'm going to be talking about a TV show. Well, actually, it's not really a TV show. Let's just talk about some of my favorite stand-up specials. Yes, that you may notice that this is a very late episode, and also that somehow we're only at episode 5, because I've been really off this season, and that's definitely my bad. It's been trickier to find time to record, but that's life. But yeah, so I was supposed to be talking about my favorite series finales this week, but I started getting really into it, and it started getting really, really long. They're not even necessarily my favorite. They're just some of the ones that have, popped up in my head when I thought about it. And there's still more I kind of want to talk about, and there's even some more episodes I would like to rewatch again to get more info. So yeah, I think that's going to be the next TV show episode, because I've written quite a bit for it, but I think I want to keep going at it, and I just need to publish something because, again, I keep not publishing anything. So yeah, so instead, let's talk about some of my favorite stand-up comedians. And this is mostly because, and I guess a kind of spoiler alert for what's to come, but one of my favorite comedians, his latest tour is now on HBO Max, or Max, but if I just said Max, would you know what I'm talking about? Maybe. I don't know. And I got so excited about it that when I was trying to find a movie for my husband and I to watch, and we weren't really finding anything, I just said, who cares, whatever, I'm going to watch this then. And I watched it, and it was great. So I was happy with the choice. He didn't really care. And it was fine. But yeah, so let's start off with a classic. Brian Regan. I first found out about him back when I was in high school. A friend of mine gave me his CD. Yes, it was a CD. And I just Googled to see what special it was, and it was just called Brian Regan Live, which isn't on his list of specials, so I don't really know what it was. Your guess is certainly as good as mine, maybe better, maybe worse, I don't know. But it's one of my all-time favorites, and I think about it a lot. I actually thought about it today because my coworker and I were talking after we all had a Thanksgiving lunch together, and and we were talking about something, and one of the quotes from Brian Regan's special came up where he was like, hey, when's that baby due? And she's like, what baby? And he was like, the panda at the zoo. Anyway, that's not even funny, I don't think, to anybody who's not listened to it, but I can hear his voice clearly in my head saying that joke. Classic. Anyway, yeah, one of my favorites of all time. It's been many years since I've graduated high school, even more years since he gave me that CD, so it's definitely stuck in my head for a very, very long time. And yeah, no matter how many times I listen to it, every once in a while someone will say something and I'll bring it up, and I'll have to find a clip of it on YouTube and show it to them, and I crack up like a crazy person. The Moosin. It's classic. Google it if you haven't heard it, because it's really good, and it's I think fairly clean humor, if that matters to you. Maybe it doesn't, but it's hilarious and I love it. I haven't listened to his more recent stuff, and I almost don't want to, because I don't want to ruin that, what I thought of as perfection, peak comedy. But I've heard his stuff is still good, so maybe I'll still give it a go. Since we're talking about high school Kelsey and her humor, I also want to throw out there Bill Burr. Obviously, he's still around making comedy and stuff, but mostly I just wanted to talk about a very specific bit about him punching a table of muffins. I don't know why, but I still laugh like a crazy person when I hear it. Again, YouTube it if you haven't heard it. It's, I think, from his Just for Laughs in Montreal. I don't know why I said Montreal, like a weirdo. Montreal in 2007. You just, it's because I feel like it's something that I would do, where he has this bit where he's talking about how, like, he's at this, little, fair thing, or not a fair, like a street fair or whatever they're called, like a little market thing, with his girlfriend, and he sees this lady with these muffins, and he just has this like intrusive thought out of nowhere that, what would she do if he just started going up and punching him? So then he starts cracking up, and then his girlfriend's like, why are you laughing? And then he's like trying to explain it, like, what if I just started punching all those muffins? And so he's laughing even harder, and she's just like, what the heck is wrong with you? And I feel like I've 100% had like a really stupid thought that cracked me up, and then I've had to explain it to Steven, and he just thinks I'm insane. So it's great. I love it. But yeah, and then that's like the history of my life too. So my husband and I also watched F is for Family, which Bill Burr voices the dad in, and I think it's supposed to be like loosely based off of his life as a kid, and it's also really funny. We really enjoyed it. Another deep cut, I would say, is Demetri Martin. I also loved him in high school and my early college days. I know super early he had like a show on, I think it was Comedy Central. I assume it was Comedy Central, called Important Things. And I really loved it. And I think it was hard for me to get because I don't know if we had like any kind of TV really at the time. But I loved it. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it I could tell you one thing about it, and that he drew stuff on an easel a lot. And that's all. And I kind of remember like the stage. But I think it was just like his stand-up comedy and him just talking about stuff. But yeah, I used to listen to his album These Are Jokes all the time. I really loved his style, where you knew like none of what he said was actually, true or happened to him. They were just kind of facts, or like, I guess it's like observational humor, but very specific observations. But they're still hilarious to me. And he didn't really have segues, and he just kind of went from joke to joke in like a series of funny things, but it still somehow worked. And sometimes, like I said, he had like visual aids, like the easels and stuff that he would draw on, and I really loved that. Like he just had a thing where I think it was like him feeding bread to ducks, and he just had like a tally of the bread. I don't even know, but it was stupid and it was silly, and it was really funny, and I really loved him. So next up are probably my two current favorite comedians. One is Bo Burnham. I don't know about always loved him. His early YouTube stuff, I was aware of, but didn't really watch. I didn't really watch the show that he was in. But I loved What, and I loved Make Happy, and I know I saw one of them live, and I'm pretty sure it was Make Happy, and my brain sucks. So that's that. Tara, you can tell me if I'm right or not, because we saw it together. But I really loved those albums, or those stand-up specials. They're really good. I also, like probably most people in, the height of the pandemic, fell in love and became obsessed with Inside. I still, just kind of throw the album on while I'm working from home sometimes and sing along, which, if you don't know, Bo Burnham's act has a lot of singing in it. And they're just super catchy songs, and it's really good. And Inside, the deluxe version or whatever, and the outtakes, like, it's all so good. And he kind of helped me realize that one of my favorite forms of comedy has become like the sad kind. like it's funny, but it's also a bit sad and kind of poignant. If that makes sense. Like, Bo Burnham is great at making the sad things seem funny. When I tell people to watch Inside, I tell them it's watching a comedian have a mental breakdown over the course of like a year or something, but it's also funny. And I think that basically kind of sums up, especially that album. But a lot of his other stuff too, I think, is just kind of, I don't know. It can be a bit sad, and some of them are just kind of funny, things about stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I love Bo Burnham, and I already want to start listening to Inside just by talking about it. So I might do that after I record this album. I don't know. You don't know me. But yeah. Next up is James Acaster. He's probably my actual favorite comedian. I love him so much. He's a British comedian. He has a 4-part special on Netflix called Repertoire, and it's freaking genius. I watched it. I think I started kind of watching him around pandemic times. I think my friend Amanda told me to watch the Repertoire special because she watches a ton of stand-up comedy. And I watched it, and also, like, I'm in love with panel shows, British panel shows. I know I've talked about them before. He's in a lot of those and everything, so I've loved him, and Repertoire is so, like, height James Acaster. Cold Lasagna, Hate Myself, 1999 is a more recent one he did. After that, it was kind of, I think, postponed release because of COVID. And I had to buy it on Vimeo. I think that might still be the only place you can get it on. But it was money well spent. It wasn't even that much money. And it was hilarious. And there's tons of clips on YouTube of it. It's a slightly different spin for sure. But it's still fantastic. It's great. I love it. His latest that just popped up on Max is called Heckler's Welcome. And it's just as good. I almost could have gone to the tour because he did come to America, but of course it was nowhere near me really, and I wasn't able to get tickets, and I was really super bummed about it. But it was a fabulous special that I finally got to see, and I was so glad. It's basically, kind of about hecklers. Acaster kind of has this way about comedy that tells you he isn't just like a funny guy saying like funny things. But he puts a lot of effort into his comedy, which is basically the gist of this latest special. It's kind of being able to be more flexible at how things play out on stage, because everything he does is just really well timed, it's well performed, and it all kind of means something. When you read a book, sometimes it's just a sequence of events that you read, and you're just kind of reading to have fun, and you're not really thinking much into it. But then other times when you pick up a book, you realize that every single word on the page was carefully selected and crafted to help tell the story, and you realize that the story can be so much more than just, the events on the page. It can be about, the spelling, the punctuation, the grammar, the syntax. It can be so much more that authors can put into the story to add like that much more depth and that much more detail and really sell whatever they're trying to sell. And that's exactly what James does with comedy. He really knows and understands comedy, and he uses that knowledge to form the most, I don't want to say formulaic, because it's not really formulaic. If you listen to him, I don't know what formula he'd best necessarily be using, but it's definitely a very controlled comedy. He knows, exactly what he's doing on stage, and he has everything, kind of down to his own science, and it definitely shows. And it, to me, is, I don't know, I love it so much. I think he's super, super clever. Just a super clever dude. And I love watching him on the panel shows, like I said. He's on plenty of them. Like Mock the Week, he used to be on a lot. Where you could really see a lot of his humor shine and his quick wit. Like the way he can get other comedians to laugh is just, I love it. Because you can tell that they also appreciate the way that he, has the way he structures his humor, if that makes sense. He's also on the best season of Taskmaster, which I think at this point it's like an objective fact that that's the best season, or series, as they would say, but or at least it's in the top like 3 probably, but I would put it as number 1, as my favorite ever. He also hosts a podcast with Ed Gamble, another British comedian, called Off Menu, where they talk to other celebrities to find out like their perfect meals. And it's absolutely hilarious. You can start with, people that you know, and then kind of go off that, because even the people you don't know, they can get really, really funny. And I love them. He also hosted a show called Hypothetical with Josh Whitcomb, another British comedian, obviously, and it was hilarious, and I only ever got to see really, like, clips of the show, and I'm bummed I can't find more because it's not in the States, and it's on the channel Dave, and I wish that they had a Dave in America. Please come to America so I can watch all my panel shows. I think the show actually ended, which I'm really bummed about as well, but whatever. He's just hilarious. My favorite comedian. Watch any of those stand-up specials, but watch him. Super solid. He just great. And then speaking of Taskmaster, I recently watched the Phil Wang special, the new one that's on Netflix. He was in that Best Season Ever with James Acaster. It's called Wang in There, Baby. And it was hilarious. I highly recommend it. He starts off on a whole rant about white people and rice. And it was really funny because it was true. White people don't trust cooked rice, so it was really good. It's way better than just the rice thing too, but he's also very funny, and I like his humor style as well. There's another special of his on Netflix called Philly Philly Wang Wang, and I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list to watch. I don't always feel in the mood to watch stand-up specials, but those ones are my top ones, so give those a go. Thank you for joining me. This was a short episode, and I'm all over the place on format. Who knows? I've lost it. It's out the window. So yeah, go find me on Instagram or Facebook or Tumblr. Sometimes I post there. At Mixed Media Reviews Podcast. Please leave me a comment to let me know if you liked any of these guys or if you like other ones. I realize I don't have a single female comedian on here, but that's fine. That's probably okay. That doesn't probably mean anything. Or if you have any suggestions for me of comedians, probably female comedians, because obviously I didn't have any. And now I'm questioning my life. It's fine. It's probably fine. Okay, yeah, you can find me anywhere you find your podcast, probably using Spotify's nice, though. Help me get ads back one day, maybe. Please join me next week where I'm going to be reviewing a movie, and we'll find out. Maybe I'll just watch a bunch of those terrible Netflix Hallmark-y type of movies that are coming out. You know, like the Frosty the Snowman that comes alive. Hot Frosty? Yeah, I don't know. I might be in the mood. What ups? Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye!